Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you to all of our participants who are slowly trickling in. I'm going to give about a minute for all of our attendees to join us, but thank you so much for all of you who are here today. My name is Juana Estrada, and I'm the events leader at Latinas in Tech, and I'll be here just to welcome you all as we kick it off today's event sponsored by Block. In the chat, if you please may, we'd love to learn more about where all of our attendees are located today. Before we kind of started today, we kind of got a little synopsis of where we're all located. I'm here currently in Chicago. And as you may know, here in the Midwest, the weather has been a little chaotic this summer. So I am praying that the stability of the fall can come to us. But definitely like to learn more about from everybody here in the chat where we're all located from as we let members joining us in. I'll give it about a minute. Awesome. I see someone in the chat. Hello from the Bay Area, San Diego. Awesome. Amazing. Well, I want to just jump right in before we get started. But again, to those who are just trickling in, again, my name is Juana Estrada, and I welcome you to today's event. I want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today, Block, for partnering us with us today as we kind of wrap up our Hispanic Heritage Month events here at Latinas in Tech. I know Hispanic Heritage Month ended at the beginning of the week, but we still have a lot of programming happening this month, so we kind of extended it for the rest of the month. But definitely super proud and happy to have Block as a partner for this campaign this year. And again, thank you to all of our new members who are joining us today. So if you are new to our network, I highly encourage you to go onto our website at latinastech.org to learn more about what we offer to our community. But here at Latinas Tech, our mission is to be able to empower and uplift our Latino community, both our allies, but also to our Latinas. And we say that we're here to create jefas in this industry. So we highly encourage you, if you are an ally or if you're also Latina, please go onto our website to learn more ways to connect with us too. But as well, to highlight here, as the screen says, we're here to provide our network opportunities to both network, to meet with recruiters and partners such as Block today, but we also offer a plethora of programs that are geared toward professional development. So I highly encourage you to go onto our website to learn more about what we offer to our network. And to those who are part of our network for the first time, you have access to our 27,000 plus members. I know that's a lot of people who are in our network, but there's kind of all around the US and also globally. We have chapters in Mexico and Canada and Brazil. And actually, as of recently, we have 2 new chapters, 1 in Dublin and also 2 in Central Florida. So if you're looking to learn more ways to connect with entities near you, I highly encourage you to go out to our website to learn more about that as well. And without further ado, I want to now open up the mic to our lovely panelists for here today. And I'm going to pass the mic to Sam, who's going to be the moderator for today's competition. Sam?
Hi, thank you so much, Juana. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching and for being here today. Love to see where everyone is calling in from. So as Juana mentioned, my name is Sam, and I'm here with our panelists today. So we have Navaz, Lisbeth, and Caesar. And so at Block, I'm actually the program manager for our employee resource groups, and I sit within the inclusion and diversity team. So for our event today, each panelist is going to be asked to talk about one strategy that they've adopted to advance their careers in tech. So some of the strategies that we'll be talking about are mastering change, problem solving, and the power of influence. And we really are hoping that you walk away with some tangible examples of how you can advance your career. So as I mentioned, we are employees at Block. So what is Block? Block is made up of Square, Cash App, Title, TBD, and our foundational teams. So this includes teams like the people, legal, and the finance teams. And so this is what we would consider our building blocks, which really we are united by our shared purpose of economic empowerment, where we create tools to help expand access to the economy. So with Square, We help sellers more easily run and grow their businesses with its integrated ecosystem of commerce solutions, business software, and banking services. At Cash App, we focus on redefining the world's relationship with money by making it more relatable and just generally universally accessible. Tidal is a global platform for musicians and their fans that uses unique content, experiences, and services that really brings fans closer together to artists that they love and gives artists the tools needed to um, be their successful entrepreneurs. And with TBD, we're building an open developer platform to make it easier to access Bitcoin and other blockchain technologies without having to go through an institution. So today, I'm really excited to kickstart our conversation with Caesar. He is the head of compliance and of engineering and technology at Block, and he's actually going to talk to us about mastering change. So, hi, Caesar, welcome. My first question for you is, can you describe to us what steps led you to pursue compliance engineering and what you and your team are responsible for at Block?
Hi, team. I guess I want to start first, Sam, by just thanking the Lit community for having me, and this organization. I think it's just a wonderful organization, and I'm happy to share some of the strategies that I've taken over the course of my career, right, to help master change and further opportunities. So to go back to your question, and I'll just sort of repeat it. Describe the steps that led me to pursue compliance engineering and what me and my team are responsible for. Um, Reflecting on this, I think I tend to look for opportunities that will help me grow and allow me to continue learning. When I felt I'd successfully delivered in my previous role as an engineering lead at Block, I took some time to really think about where else I could have impact. Um, and I'd done a project for compliance, and I noticed internally that the compliance team was looking for an engineering lead to build out compliance engineering and report up directly to our chief compliance officer. So what I did is I wrote some notes for myself describing what I could bring to the team, and I reached out for a conversation with Block's chief compliance officer, who was a hiring manager. In those initial chats, I confirmed that compliance, obviously, pretty critical to our company, and a role embedded within compliance could really have the impact that I was looking for, and really level up the compliance team. So, like reflecting back on it, via our team, we've brought a strong embedded partnership to compliance that's allowed us to develop innovative solutions around the detection of money laundering concerns in the tooling that we use to work investigations across all of Block's ecosystems, Cash App, Square, and TBD today.
Yeah, thank you. I really love learning how people like take the initiative. Like in this case, you reaching out to the CCO and just being really prepared with notes about what you could uh, really contribute to the team. I think that that's really amazing, and I'm sure that's a cooler story than you are letting on. But thank you. So next question is, how did you come to realize that mastering change was a strategy that you needed to adopt? Was there like a specific moment that maybe sparked this need?
Yeah, I mean, I spent the first part of my career as a software engineer. And as you guys know, technology, it's always changing. You've got to continually learn new technology, new programming languages, techniques, architecture, design, how to lay out code. This taught me the importance of mastering change with respect to the fast pace of technology. Looking at it another way, every time I've struggled with a problem in life, I've often asked myself, how do I need to change course? And what's the process of self reflection that has helped me? It's this process of self reflection that's helped me master change, particularly.
Yeah, I really appreciate the call out of this, like, really critical self-thinking, right? And asking yourself questions that require you to, right, to be honest about life lessons that you can apply in the workspace. That's really, really great. I'm wondering if you can talk to us about what steps you took to actively develop and refine your change management skills.
Yeah, I think a really important part of this is to find time and reflect on plans. Think about it when you're going to tackle a new challenge or a new domain. what do you want to tackle in the first 6 months, year, or 5 months down the line? Writing it down is kind of a process for me that helps visualize the steps that I need now and in the future. And it helps me think strategically about the process and what I'm trying to accomplish.
No, that's really helpful, sharing out that process. I know sometimes that writing exercises can be kind of daunting, but ultimately really helpful if you can visualize, and it, can help you develop an actual plan as opposed to just ruminating in your mind, which is what I tend to do. I know writing down your goals can help you break them apart and probably really identify what you actually need to do to get there. So that's super helpful. Can you share a challenging professional situation where mastering change played a really crucial role in the success? How did you approach and manage that whole
Yeah,
experience? And what was the result?
yeah, I did. One of the reasons I moved out to the Bay Area was in 2011. I did something called Y Combinator. And Y Combinator, if you're unfamiliar, is a startup incubator famous for companies like Dropbox, Airbnb, Stripe, and Coinbase. My own startup, it actually failed, like most do. But one of the lessons I took from the experience was the need to grow as a manager and a leader in ways that I hadn't actually done before. I had no experience setting strategic priorities or setting a product vision for a little fledgling company. And these non-technical skills, they're core to leadership and management. And one reason of the many that I attributed to my failure in 2011. So I set out over the next few years to develop those skills by taking on different positions at a manager and director level, culminating in the current role that I'm in today. And now I'm leading a highly cross-functional team of 100 technical employees in machine learning, data science, and software engineering.
Wow, that's amazing. I really appreciate you sharing and acknowledging that in addition to needing the right technical skills, there's also non-technical skills like management and leadership that's actually pretty needed when you're thinking about leading teams effectively to be productive. And I'm sure we could spend more time talking about the different lessons learned throughout each of the leadership roles that you took on that led you to this role. So that sounds really amazing. And also I will say, like, I love hearing from leaders about the fact that, like, they just weren't always as amazing as they are now. So I appreciate that, as well. So next up, just to pivot a bit, I'm happy to be joined by Lisbeth, an international tax planning manager at Blog, who's here to talk to us about the power of influence. Okay, Lisbeth, so in what ways has your influence extended beyond numbers and compliance, impacting broader business decisions?
Thanks, Sam. And hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Well, as an international tax planning manager at Block, my goal is to be a partner to the business. And when I mean the business, I'm referencing, the product teams that come up with the products that we sell. So the business sets the target goal, and as a partner to the business, it is my job to influence the means for reaching that target goal in order to optimize Block's business model. For example, I recently worked with Square product teams to help prioritize the international markets that would be most attractive for Block, because tax is a key consideration when it comes to operating any business or launching a product.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and for clarifying for those of us less familiar with tax that it's actually not an independent thing that you do from the business, but that you actually partner closely with the business. That's really helpful to know. I'm wondering if you can talk to us a bit about any challenges that you faced during your journey to develop this power of influence skill, and also like what you did to overcome the challenges.
Sure. It's always difficult to talk about tax to a room full of non-tax people because, tax just gets a bad reputation for being boring. But to overcome this challenge, I, mastered the skill of just making tax engaging. I did that by simply centering my discussions with the business on how tax could add value or solve problems. For example, when Block was analyzing the cost involved with launching a product outside of the US, we notified the product team that there were local tax credits that Block could be eligible for that could reduce Block's operating cost in that country. So tangible benefits like that can just really add value to Block's ability to expand and grow faster.
Wow, I love the thoughtfulness in terms of making tax more relatable and accessible by making it engaging and like really helping partners to see the value of what your expertise can bring. I think that's a great lesson. And I can only imagine too how pleasantly surprised people are after meeting you for their first time and realizing that like with tax, there's actually a value add to what they're doing as opposed to seeing you as like a compliance, like you don't know what this is type of thing. So that's really amazing. And actually a good segue into my next question. So tax management often requires collaboration with various departments, right? Like finance, legal, operations. How can early career professionals effectively influence decisions and foster teamwork across these disciplines?
Yeah, my advice is to number one, make it easy for people to understand your intentions and reasoning, meaning like what you want and why. Number two, offer solution to problems. No matter how small or big the problem is, creating a reputation for solving problems at work, will help you excel in your career. In my role, as I mentioned, I work a lot with people outside of tax. And I've had the most success influencing decisions and fostering teamwork with teams outside of tax. When I just tailor my communications effectively and bring solutions to the table. One example would be, if I'm meeting with a TBD product engineer, I don't spit out tax code sections. Instead, I try to speak in their language so that the TBD engineer can clearly understand what I'm asking for and why. And to speak in their language, I do my homework to understand the technology behind TBD's decentralized protocols. And with this knowledge, like I said, able to properly frame my questions and provide viable tax solutions that will, in this example, would be to speed up the launch of the product.
That is excellent advice, like taking the time to learn the language and the problems of another team, like what they have, and then how you can contribute to finding and like solving those problems, using words that are familiar to them. Like I think that's just such an important step in showing colleagues that one, you're a good partner and that you're there to contribute to their overall success, and like not to be a barrier or hindrance to it, but like an actual partner. So just to pivot a bit, can you talk to us about technology reshaping the tax landscape? Specifically, like I'm wondering how early career tax managers can leverage their understanding of both technology and taxation to influence the adoption of digital solutions within their organizations.
Yeah, technology is top of mind and it's an exciting frontier that is top of mind for all companies. So to stay ahead in your career, I would highly recommend that you embrace new technology and more importantly, take the initiative to look for opportunities to apply those technologies to your work. Explore resources such as webcasts and articles to stay up to date. I read articles and sign up for technology webcasts put together by accounting firms or law firms because in my field, those are very informative and free on their websites. And also, I have to say, like, if you're interested in Bitcoin and want to learn more about how it works, I would recommend that you first focus on understanding the problems Bitcoin is trying to solve, as that would make it so much easier to understand the technology behind Bitcoin. And if you're interested, Block does have webcasts on how Bitcoin and decentralized platforms like TBD work, and you can find them on the Block website or the TBD website. And if you already know how Bitcoin works, great. But I would highly recommend that you still check out the website, just because Block is doing a lot of things around Bitcoin are really exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing those resources. I'm wondering, yeah, if we can put those links in the chat. And also just like sharing tips on where to find latest information in your field. I think just for folks that are looking to further their own learning, no matter what area of the business you're in. I know I personally enjoy like podcasts and books or audiobooks because it's easy to do like while I walk. But even like thought leaders in your field, like on LinkedIn, sometimes will post really great things. And also some of the best resources that I found, you're right, is with firms that do research who then publish it. And of course they, are sharing any like their findings as well as any solutions that they can offer. But there's a lot of free stuff out there. So I hope that folks really hear that. So I'm wondering, what additional advice do you have for young professionals, especially those who are seeking to broaden their influence across diverse geographic regions and cultures?
I would highly recommend that you develop effective cross-cultural communication skills. And you can do that by being a good listener, asking questions, and more importantly, being sensitive to different communication styles. Being a Latina, I know that even within the Latino community, we have different communication styles. And it's funny because when I heard a panelist a few years ago at a conference say that, Latinos tend to take the scenic route to the point. I found that funny, but also maybe do a double take and assess whether I do that. But in all seriousness, given my life journey, I learned early on how to develop cross-cultural communication skills. Coming from a low-income family, I immigrated to the U.S. from Mexico when I was 9. And as the first in my family to attend college and law school, early on, I got used to being, different from everybody else in the room. And in the beginning, that was challenging, but it forced me to anticipate cultural differences and to hone my ability to manage those differences in a way that allows me to influence and authentically connect with people from different backgrounds. And thankfully at Block, I've always felt that cultural differences are celebrated and seen as a strength, which is something that I really appreciate because that's something that wasn't part of my lived experience growing up. And, before I run out of my time slot, I would be remiss not to mention the importance of actively networking and seeking mentors when it comes to helping you learn how to hone your skill set for broadening your influence at work and across different cultures. And lastly, I'll just mention, I would recommend that you always look for ways to provide value to your colleagues or whoever you're trying to build a relationship with. Whether it's sharing an expertise or resources or opportunities, being a giver can really enhance your influence in many ways.
Yeah, thank you so much. You shared so many words of wisdom, and I love the small preview that we just got into your own journey as a first gen college student. I was too. And so a lot of what you said really hits home in the sense of like you kind of used to being different. And so like how do you use that to your advantage and what are the skills you can hone with that? And cross-cultural communication is definitely one of them. So thank you so much for sharing all that. So now I'm super happy to pivot to Navaz, our last panelist, definitely not least. And he's going to walk us through his approach to problem solving at Block. So Navaz, can you introduce yourself and then tell us what you currently do at Block?
Yeah, definitely. Hello, all. Thanks for having me. So my name is Navaz Amirali. I'm currently a corporate finance and strategy analyst at Block, focusing on balance sheet forecasting and cash flow analysis. Prior to joining Block, I spent 4 years at Wells Fargo, where for 1 year I was in the Treasury Department, and the last 3 years I worked in the corporate development field.
Awesome. Thank you. So in your current role as a finance and strategy analyst, what problems do you and your team face? And then how do you approach finding solutions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So taking a step back, corporate finance and strategy is kind of at the nexus of information within an organization and plays a critical role in connecting teams together, providing transparency and clarity for complex problems, and supporting holistic decision making. So, as part of the corporate finance team, we're kind of the central hub between all the different finance teams and senior leadership. I'd say one of the problems our team can face is synchrony and alignment. There's so many other teams we work with, so many other individuals we work with that kind of each decision we make, if one of us is off base, then the rest of us will be off base as well. So a specific example is kind of quarterly forecasting with our team. So these numbers are changing constantly. business unit by business unit. And it's kind of, we want to make sure before we're running this up the chain to senior leadership that we're all aligned, and that all business units are on the same team, on the same page. So there's a number of action items we need to take to kind of align on this. So I'd say the top 4 that we kind of run through going step by step here, I'd say the first piece is identifying the problem. So before you can solve a problem, you have to know what it is. So I think it's defining your problem, outlining who needs to be involved, and finding a solution, and then scoping out kind of how you've solved this problem in the past, or a similar problem in the past, to kind of provide that guidance to kick it off. I'd say step 2, I would say, is organization. So like I mentioned, tons of teams, tons of individuals involved. It's crucial to keep everything as organized as you possibly can. So that starts with setting deadlines for both sides, including yourself, making sure documents are clear and concise before sending out to different teams, even knowing who the direct contact is for each team for any follow-ups, questions, feedback. And yeah, I think that's a day-to-day we're extremely focused on, so there's no loose ends as we run it up the chain. Step 3, which ties into organization, is communication. So constant communication with all of our partners. So if something changes, we need to identify everyone who's involved in the project, involved in the deliverable, making sure we're all aligned. So whether that's sending out reminders on deadlines, following up on specific projects or initiatives, or just talking through what we can do better moving forward, communication is always key. And I'd say step 4, is compromise. So I'd say probably the most important action item we take on every day is compromise. So finding a common ground with each team and even each individual in some cases is crucial to alignment across all these teams. So we have new ad hoc projects that come on a monthly, sometimes weekly basis. We round up internally on our team to set our goals and expectations that meet with necessary team members on these projects to understand their expectations and what works for them. And then we kind of go from there. So we may not always see eye to eye at first, but we find our way there in the end for the greater good of the team there.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, recap: identifying the problem, organization, communication, and compromise. Such great skills to have, and I can like almost see it in action, right? The constant upkeep and making sure that like everyone is on the same page, and how complicated that probably gets. And I can tell that you've said it a lot easier than it probably actually is. So thank you. I'm wondering if you can talk to us a bit more about a common mistake that people make when they're solving problems.
Yeah, I would say the last step we talked about is probably the one where I see kind of most common mistakes. I'd say compromise is easier said than done. It's easy to get caught up in your own workload, your own deadlines, kind of who you're rolling your decisions up to, versus understanding the other teammates you're working with, under individuals you're working with, PTO, schedules, so on and so forth. So understanding the pain points for the other party is crucial. I'd also say that compromise involves hard stops where some dates, projects just can't be moved on either side. So there are times where we just can't do it. And we just need to say we can't do this by X date and need to follow up with all involved, as there's a funnel effect with kind of all these different parties involved. So without compromise, it can lead to even bigger problems than where it started. So that is always top of mind in team discussions when trying to solve any type of problems.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that insight. For me, it sounds a lot like open communication with the partners is really critical and key. So that makes perfect sense. So I'm wondering, like, looking back on your career, can you identify moments where your effective problem solving skills opened up new opportunities or career pathways?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say my experience in corporate development opened the door for me to be in the current role I am today. So without getting too much in the weeds, corporate development, every day you're kind of solving problems, whether that's dealing with external parties, dealing with legal, senior leadership, so on and so forth. So to give a quick example, when I was on the corporate development team, at Wells Fargo. We were looking at making an investment in a company, and our team was comfortable moving forward on the investment, but senior leadership was not. So we identified the problem as not seeing eye to eye with senior leadership, and it was kind of up to our team to present our case as to why we thought this was a logical investment. So from there, we kind of organized a clear and concise presentation that showcased why it made sense financially from a business outlook perspective, and logically. And then from there, part of that is also presenting worst case scenarios and exit strategies if needed. So kind of presenting kind of best case and worst case, so everything's taken into account. From there, it's setting up a live meeting to communicate our position with senior leadership and talk through any open questions and concerns. And then the compromise on that specific example is we ended up getting sign up from senior leadership after we went through the presentation. We just decided to do the investment at a smaller scale. So that was kind of the compromise on that piece. So all of those skills I spoke about earlier go hand in hand in what I'm doing today, working with all these different teams, whether that's treasury, investor relations, senior leadership, etc. And yeah, it's kind of all part of how we thinking it through, how we view our business today and how we should view our business moving forward. So I'm definitely thankful for those problem solving skills I developed early in my career, and I wouldn't be where I am today without those skills.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So this concludes the questions and our event today. So thank you all so much for watching, and panelists, just for sharing all of your words of wisdom. I so appreciate learning from my colleagues just about how we can be how we can strategize in our own careers and really advance them. So thank you. I do want to invite everyone who's watching to follow us on LinkedIn. This is a way to continue learning about our company and just the work that we're doing to empower the global economy. So if you're interested in a career at Block, please click on the jobs landing page that I believe, Juana, you had linked in the chat. So at this time, I will pass it back to Juana. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to our panelists.